The global launch pricing of the OnePlus 13 and OnePlus 13R were just announced, and it seems like OnePlus is trying to fill the hole left open by Google since they've been moving the price of the Pixel series up over the last couple of years. Now, in the past, there would be two devices that I would kind of quantify as kind of mainstream enthusiast cell phones, and those would have been the Pixel series of devices, although Pixel's now made a broader push to be kind of a more ubiquitous name in the house. The second one would be OnePlus, although OnePlus's support in America isn't that great because things like Wi-Fi calling don't work with some carriers. So OnePlus maybe has a bigger mountain to climb if they want to take a bite out of US market share, but at least in places like the UK, Japan, and other markets where both the Pixel and OnePlus is sold, it seems like OnePlus is really going at the neck of Google. Now, these two devices really couldn't be further apart in regards to the strategy that their respective brands and OEMs have taken in regards to developing and placing this device at certain price points. On one hand, we see OnePlus just stacking the deck in regards to hardware features, almost in a similar way that we had Xiaomi doing a while ago. You've got flagship level camera, flagship level charging, huge battery, flagship SoC, and then you have software that's lifted straight out of China, being kind of the Color OS, or at least in China, OnePlus devices run Color OS. Globally, they run Color OS base source code, and then OnePlus has kind of gone over Color OS to make it seem more like Oxygen OS in the last couple of years or so, since there's been such a backlash to them putting Color OS on their OnePlus devices. On the other hand, and I understand that I'm gonna get a bunch of comments talking about how Color OS isn't the same as Oxygen OS, but under the hood, they are mostly the same, and there are some very, very subtle tweaks that differentiate Color OS and Oxygen OS, but for the most part, they share almost all the features, a very similar aesthetic, so that's why I'm kind of lumping them together. On the other hand, you have Google cost cutting every step along the way to make as much money as they can on the hardware of these Pixel devices because Google's software is so good. And I would say that the user experience for Pixel devices really is top notch. They seem to get faster with time. They don't seem to have slowed down. Some people have talked about the cameras of older Pixel devices getting nerfed by software updates. I haven't experienced anything like that. And if Google really was nerfing these devices with software updates, I think we would have a pretty big issue on our hands that would have more mainstream attention. But still, Google is using their in-house Tensor chipset that is a similar performance as like a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, so definitely not the highest performing chip, not the best modems, using a Samsung modem. So depending upon your use case, whether you're on 5G most of the time, 4G LTE, or Wi-Fi, your battery life is going to be relatively inconsistent, whereas OnePlus is just going with Qualcomm everything. It's the most efficient SoC, the most efficient modem that we have right now. And then on the other side, Google is using camera hardware that is older, but is really well optimized and thus gets you really good, consistent results. Their LTPO screens in the past haven't been the newest gen LTPO. Google does all of this in order to kind of maximize profits because their software is so good. So on one hand, you have OnePlus with the great hardware and acceptable software. On the other hand, you have Google with the acceptable hardware, excellent software. I really think that this is going to have enthusiasts split down the middle about what they want from either device. I know some people in the OnePlus Reddit were unhappy with so much of the AI sending their information back to China. People were responding that the AI stuff that Google does sends your servers back to Google in America. And so privacy is just horrible. Go install Graphene OS, which is an OS without any Google services, if that's what you're worried about. But the reality is that these two very different approaches to delivering a upper end to mid-range smartphone really just talk about the different strengths of these two manufacturers, and the hardware differences between the two of them are important, but really what I want users to focus on, at least when trying to make this decision for yourself, how long do you want to be holding on to the device? Are you in a market that either of these devices are kind of locally sold in? Because if you are buying a brand new device and you want to hold on to it long term, then software support as well as warranty support are things that you're going to want to consider. Now, OnePlus has gone out of their way to have a warranty against OLED failures for their devices. I think is an absolutely, great move from them, but they still lack a bit on software support, only offering, I think it was 4 years of software support on the OnePlus 13. So do you want to be supported in the long run for software, or do you want to have a better warranty? Because a lot of people do import Pixels into markets that they wouldn't normally get them in, and when they have issues with the devices, they don't have any recourse of action. I want to know from your point of view, is Oxygen OS now good enough to use or good enough to overlook kind of Oxygen OS or Color OS as being a negative? Because if you're fine using Oxygen OS or Color OS, then you may only be disappointed with the camera stuff on OnePlus devices, but you would be really happy with the rest of the device. Personally, for me, as someone that doesn't use very many of Google's kind of proprietary AI features here in Vietnam, the OnePlus 13 seems to be a really compelling option for me if I was looking to upgrade from my Google Pixel 8 Pro, which has been just awesome. I mean, my OnePlus 8 Pro still gets fantastic battery life. The cameras on it are still amazing. My user experience on it is still top notch. Part of how this device has aged has made me want to continue using Pixel devices, although not at the premium that they would be here in Vietnam, although they're manufactured here in Vietnam. Either way, which device are you looking at for your next device? If you're someone like me that doesn't want to spend more than $1,000 on a smartphone, it's really hard to beat a OnePlus 13 unless you are going to get a Pixel 8 Pro XL used, or a Pixel 9 Pro XL used. So, as an enthusiast, let me know what you would decide, and until next time, it's been Mitchell. Peace.